Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Villa Pride Down Under podcast. This week, it's just Spud and Tes. We had a special episode planned for tonight, but unfortunately, Rhino and his family have all come down with a bit of illness. So we wanted to keep that episode for when the three of us are here together. So it's actually good because we're going to get to hear a lot about Tess's thoughts on the transfer saga at the moment. You got a bit of a feedback from myself and Rhino last week, so it'll be good to have Tess's views, and we've had a few more confirmed going through in the meantime. So, Tess, how are you, buddy? Good to have you back.
Yeah, doing good. I'm glad to be back. Sorry I couldn't make it last time, but you guys did a great job. I listened to it just the other day when I was on the train actually going to work. So yeah, really good podcast. Really enjoyed listening to it. And there's been lots of really good feedback about it too as well. So really good.
That's always good. As me and Rhino said at the end of the last episode, we're really happy with the interaction so far. Feedback's been good, and people are getting in touch with us, and received quite a few messages and DMs and stuff, and a few shares, and yeah, so it's really positive. So thanks again, guys, because that's what it's all about. Tess,
Yeah,
so
a big
tell me,
shout out
mate.
to the. I want to shout out the Australian Lions Club, so Adelaide Lions, etc., because they've been really good and allow us to post the links to our podcast on there. So I want to say a big thanks to them as well.
Absolutely, Perth, Adelaide, Sydney, they've all been really good. Melbourne, so it's as we've always said, they're the kind of main people we want to be kind of interacting with. And we always said if there's any if they have any events coming up or anything, get in touch. We'll happily give it a shout out and the word out on this podcast about upcoming events in the different Lions clubs. Tess,
Yeah, yeah.
it's been a bit there's been a bit going on since we last had you on, transfer wise. Some have been confirmed, so we're going to go back a little bit because obviously we've got your thoughts into Douglas Louise, so we won't really talk about that today. But Mary Kellyman, we haven't really had to discuss about that really. That actually just kind of broke after me and Rhino recorded last week. So just wanted to get your opinion on that because that's something we haven't discussed in the podcast whatsoever yet.
Yeah, it was an interesting development, to be honest with you. I was expecting not Amari Kellerman to be going to Chelsea, but I was expecting to hear news that John Duran was going to
Yeah.
Chelsea, and that hasn't happened yet, and that seems to have died down quite a lot at the moment. So hearing the fee for Amari Kellerman was pretty tasty, to be honest. If I'm
Mm.
looking at where he's come from, how much he's really played for the club at the moment, so that was a really interesting transfer to read. Actually, it took me by surprise, to be honest. I did see one or two rumors out a day or two before, um, but yeah, really, I think it's good for the club. Probably going to be good for him to be playing with Chelsea and developing even further there. How old is he now? Uh, is he what
19, is
19,
he?
20, 19,
20,
20?
20, yeah, 19 or 20, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a good opportunity for him to go out and get first team football if he's going to play at Chelsea, or we don't know what they're going to do there. But for us, I think it was a great piece of business. It didn't look like he was going to get into our first team at any point in the near future as well. So really good business, I think.
Yeah, it's a very good price we got for him. We can't complain about that. I see a couple of other clubs are complaining about it, but I don't know how they're complaining about that. Like you only have to look at like past transfers and look at like Rian Brewster going to leaving Liverpool for 23.5 million. He's barely kicked the ball, and like Carney has left like for more money, a million more, and has played less football
Yeah.
at that time, and there wasn't a murmur about it. And um, yeah, like
Well, Carney was meant to be this kind of hype. You know, there was a lot of people around him who were hyping him to be. And look, he's got talent. There's no doubt about that. But he didn't stay at Villa long enough to earn the right to be playing week in week out.
yeah,
And an opportunity for him to move to Chelsea was a great piece of business also for Villa because I guess we were kicking ourselves laughing because the amount of, was it 20 million? He went for 20
20
million
million, yeah, yeah.
to Chelsea, and the last I heard him, he was talking about on a press conference saying that Pochettino's seen the talent, but then I hadn't seen him again after that. So
It's
um,
interesting there, Carney, because I kind of had a little, like, it mightn't be a popular opinion, but I had my own little theory, like, on Carney, because there was a lot of rumors, like, a lot of the Villa fans obviously saying that he's money hungry and he's this and he's that. And like, when you look back now, and we know now, like, we didn't know at the time, was that obviously he had played in that the European Championships, the under 19s. He got player of the tournament. he's really good. Like, and remember Christian Perzo when they signed him, they said they had the best 16-year-old in the country at the time when he was 16, and his the stuff going around about him, like his stock was really, really high. Like he was really highly thought of. And you kind of just to play a bit of devil's advocate, when you look back at it now, and Thomas Tuchel, who is obviously a Champions League winning coach at Chelsea, and we had Steven Gerrard, like, and everyone's saying that Carney was badly advised. But you kind of look back and wonder, no, was he advised really well? Did his representatives look and think and go, hang on a second, now this boy's got unbelievable talent, this guy is not a good coach. Is he gearing him towards? Are we going to get the best out of him under Steven Gerrard, or do we take him to a Champions League winning coach under Thomas Tuchel to guide him, who's been known to bring through many young players, like between Borussia Dortmund and his time Mainz and his time at Chelsea. So it's easy as Villa fans for us to go for the negative and say, well, he was badly advised and he's money hungry, and Carney chucked the money at me, as people used to call him, and But at the end of the day, like when you look back now and see what happened with the team and after and stuff, like it could have been very good advice from his representatives. It might have been the right call at the time. Like, it doesn't look the right move now because he's obviously had a bad run of injuries and stuff. But for Kellyman to go down there, do you see him getting much game time, or do you see him going on loan?
I don't see him getting much game time at all. I do see perhaps a low move somewhere. But they've got a new coach now, right? Chelsea. They've got another new
Yeah.
coach, have they?
Yeah,
So they've got
Maresca, the
another
guy
new
who was at
coach.
Leicester last year. Yeah, Pep's kind of disciple.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Who made that deal? Whether he's going to be playing, I can't see it. I can't see him getting into the first team. They've got quite a lot of strikers up there. They got Nicholas Jackson. They got Madueke. Not Madueke. He's not a striker, is he? He's more like a
He
forward
plays in
player.
Kellyman's position
And
though.
Kun,
Yeah.
yeah, and Kunku
And
as
Cuckoo's
well.
there.
He's
Yeah.
he's
Cole
there.
Palmer. They all playing that kind of wide forward kind of.
So there's a lot of competition for places in that squad. So we'll see. We'll have to see. I mean, they've chosen to go to Chelsea for a reason. Maybe he's been told that he might be getting game time, or maybe he'll be going there for the first season and going out getting some loan time.
Yeah.
We don't know, but I wish him the best. I wish him the best where he's gone now, and I thought it's just really good business for us, to be honest.
Really good business. And like, I mean, I see a lot of people that are very disappointed that he's gone because he was such a good talent. And I think it's probably more of a frustration at the rules than it is like actually at the club or the player, because it doesn't make sense that teams have to get rid of their young talent and take other teams' young talents to make this work, But with regards Kellyman, for me, and it mightn't be a popular opinion and stuff, but we suffered so long as Villa fans. I really don't care what they do now, as long as they make us better. And
Yeah.
and that might sound sad because look at Jack Grealish has kind of burnt my faith in any player or there being any loyalty in football. And I've no badness to Jack. He went and won a treble for himself. I've no problem with that. It hurt at the time, but like the club need to do what makes them better now. Like, there can't be any sentiment. At the end of the day, if Kellyman went down and reached that potential, he'll probably look to move on eventually himself anyway under his terms. So I know it's sad, but that's the state of modern football, and I think the club just need to play the ball, play the game now, and
And I,
what works for them. And it's sad, and it's unfortunate that these young players are going to be pawns in that. But for me, I can't get hung up in that. Like, I've suffered so long as a Villa fan. I just want to see us move forward. And there's going to
yeah,
be people that aren't going to like that opinion, but that's just how I feel because the days of loyalty in football are gone from players or clubs. So,
I don't think it's all just about the loyalty, though. I
yeah,
think it's about the kind of position we've in. 3 seasons ago, we were talking about just staying in leagues and stuff, like it was a big topic for a big club. Now, if we want to be a big club again, then we need to make sure that we are moving and progressing like all the other clubs who they say are big clubs. We need to make sure that we're not bringing people in at the end of their playing career and letting them sit on 5 years contract and just running it out for the sake of just sitting on the bench. We need to make
yeah,
sure that we've got players who are ready to play. We need to make sure we've got a squad that will be Emery's squad as well. So I genuinely believe that now is the time to start moulding the squad into all of his type of players, where we didn't make any excuses last season, but we need to
no,
make sure that these players are Unai Emery's players, the players that will understand how he works, the way he wants them to work. Because I can only see success in the way that he's done with the players that weren't his to start with. Some of the
Yeah.
players that we had in the squad were underperforming pretty badly. He's come in, he's made huge demands on them learning the game, watching videos, the training pitch, staying fit. I heard Ollie Watkins talking about it the other week on on another podcast. I think it was the High Performance podcast or
Yeah,
something
dive
like
bar
that.
for Jake Humphries, yeah.
And just talking about how hard he makes players work and how he gets the best out of each of these players. And I think if we're going to be now playing Champions League next season, we need to refresh the squad. I think the squad has been together for quite a little bit of time. Refresh the squad, get some new players in, and maybe improve on a couple of positions.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be all right. And also, just other things in the club, I've noticed the website looks better. You know, last season the website was dreadful. Trying to find anything on that website was unbelievable, but now it looks nice and fresh. There's lots of things happening in the background that are making the club a lot better, and we need to move with those times. If we don't move with the times, we stay behind, and we'll end up down in the Conference League or something like that, because that's not how football's operating anymore.
Yeah, exactly that. And as you say, look, there's going to be changes in the club structure and stuff like that. Not everyone's going to be pleased with it, and that's okay too. But at the end of the day, the owners need to do what they think is right for the club, and no one's ever going to fully agree with everything. But like even Chris Heck, I know some of the decisions he's making is obviously not very popular at the moment, but at the end of the day, he's only carrying out what the owners have employed him to do, and if he's not doing what he's not doing his job, but that's just modern football. Look, you're never going to keep everyone happy, and none of us love how modern football has gone, but that's just what we have to deal with now, you know. And
We do.
and, P, and PSR. If the PSR was obviously a real issue for us, and by all accounts, we managed to navigate that, and we can only take our hats off to the club for that, you know, because reading between the lines, Newcastle have left their decision making very, very late, and they seem to be getting themselves into a right muddle at the moment, like, you know. So
there's just terrible. They're terrible rules, though. They are. I mean, they are.
Yeah.
The rules are terrible, and clubs
100%.
shouldn't be having to go through all this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say to you, because forgot to get your opinion on this as well, but Kellyman's going out, and then obviously we have Lewis Dobbin coming in, who you could probably say is a similar style, so it's like for like, but for 9 million less. So it's quite smart, really. Like, you know, I mean, I think. Obviously only because I've seen more Kellyman, so it's probably unfair of me to say this about Dobbin, but Kellyman looks a little bit more talented to me. It looks, you know, but that's probably because I've just seen more of him, you know. But with Kellyman there, Tess, did it tell you a lot towards the end of last season that he didn't play as much? I know he made his European debut and he played that away game at City, but it's kind of telling that he didn't play as much when we had so many injuries anyway, isn't it? Kind of.
It was similar to Tim Rogbinham as well. I think.
Yeah.
Towards the end, didn't really get the game time. When you're thinking that, you know, you might be able to get them on and give them some minutes and stuff, and they didn't really get them. And the Kellyman's omission told stories, and I felt like Unai wasn't ready to play him. Didn't think he was ready to play. He plays for England, right? He plays for England as well.
Underage, yeah. He was at Derby. He was at Derby under Wayne Rooney when the club was financially struggling. And they had 5 or 6. I actually watched an interview on Wayne Rooney about this, and they had 5 or 6 young lads that were just super talented. Kellyman was kind of the pick of the bunch, really. So obviously the position they were in, fighting relegation, they kind of needed to keep their more senior players. So they let all the younger lads go, but the really talented ones, the ones that would have made them money eventually. So you'd wonder, is there a sell-on clause to Derby as well? I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere, but Rooney rates him really highly. But his younger brother moved as well, and his younger brother is still in the Villa Academy, and he's meant to be really good. I don't know much about him.
I think there was a 15%. Well, I'm pretty sure there was a sell-on clause to Derby.
I think there would be,
somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I read it somewhere, maybe 15% or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that I read that there was a sell-on clause that Derby.
I'd be very surprised if there wasn't something in there, yeah. You mentioned John Duran earlier there, Tess. John Duran's away at Copa America with Colombia at the moment, and he actually, one of the South American reporters asked him the other day in a press conference about what's happening. He was very coy. He didn't give away too much at all. He just said, "Look, it's in the hands of the clubs and my agents." He didn't mention any clubs. No, he didn't. He didn't go giving Chelsea the thumbs
Yeah.
up like he usually does on socials.
He should
And
have gone on their Twitter feed and just.
yeah, he basically just said he didn't have anything to comment on it. So I just going to go back because me and Rhino touched off it a bit last week. So I just want to get your opinion on it. Rhino was asking me there, say if the deal doesn't go through, which is very possible now because Douglas Luiz seems to be the big transfer now, and Kellyman as well, and Tim obviously going. If Duran does stay, is there a way back into this team for him? Do you think, or do you think it's just gone a bit too far now? Do you expect him to 100% move, or do you think is there room for him to come back into the squad now, or do you think he's lost the faith of his manager and his teammates?
It's a really interesting question because I don't think he's lost the faith of the manager.
Yeah.
The teammates, you always get these sort of kind of players who are a little bit out there and a little bit different in every squad, and he appears to be one of them. If he gets on the same page as the rest of the players in the squad, and with the information that the coaches are giving him and Unai's giving him, there is a way back in for him.
Yep.
I think potentially he could be explosive, and I've said this before. I think he could be an explosive player. There's just discipline. He needs some discipline in the way that he plays, and he needs to focus more on the learning. The difficult part for him is he wants to play now in the Premier League, and he's not above Ollie Watkins. He's not close to being above what Ollie Watkins is in terms of work rate, in terms of goal output. But he has got something special. I think there is a way back in for him. It could be difficult though. It could be a strange one. And for the supporters, I think the supporters will be the hardest ones to convince that he should stay at the club and belong at the club, based on the information that we already know of, already liking and doing all this stuff with Chelsea on Twitter and Instagram and all these sorts of things. The fans are kind of see that as a kick in the teeth, and we're the ones that brought him over to England to give him Premier League football. We've given him a chance to play in the Premier League. We've given him an opportunity to play in Europe. All we want him to do is settle down and just play for us when needed. And yeah, I've got a bit ski whiff on it because I think he's a super talent, but the reality is there is a way back in for him. We just need to find out whether he's actually going to get that transfer to where he wants to go.
Yeah, and I mean, for his point of view, like he kind of want to look at it as well and think like there's 8 games at least guaranteed in the Champions League next year. Like he's 19 going on 20, or he's maybe even 20 now, but he will play parts in those games, like so. If he could find a way to come in and knuckle down, and maybe him and Unai Emery have had this conversation now. Maybe maybe we don't know. We're not, he. Maybe now that Douglas Luiz transfer has been kind of pretty much fixed, maybe Emery sat down with him and said, "Look, we don't want you to go. We're not privy to these conversations." So it'll be interesting. I mean,
I just felt like there was times during last season where I felt like he deserved to get some minutes and he didn't get the minutes. Like there were times where I felt like, let's give Ollie a break on this one. You can see it's not his day to day. Let's bring John Duran on and give him some minutes. He might pull something out of the bag. With him, you never know what he's going to do. Sometimes you go on and you think, oh, please don't elbow someone in the face. Please don't elbow someone in the face. Yeah. Don't get sent off. But then he has all these, like when we first saw him come on, I think he first came in and played some games. He did some matches where he played on the right-hand side, didn't he? And he looked ferocious, like it was getting up, heading balls, knocking balls on, linking up 1-2s and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of talent there. Love to see him stay. Love to see if he can get some game time. And with us, he's going to get an opportunity to do Champions League football, and he will get minutes in the Champions League. We got all the cups to play in as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I to be honest, I don't feel like Chelsea at this moment want to spend that kind of money that Villa will be asking for.
No, you wouldn't imagine so. No, I think for me, from reading between the lines, I think maybe the club initially started discussing about maybe a bit of a sneaky move involving John Duran and Conor Gallagher for the PSR. That's where I think it kind of started, but they ended up kind of settling on a deal between Kellyman and obviously Ian Matson instead. So that kind of brings me on to my next question for you, Tess. Ian Matson, left back, was confirmed during the week. Now there was a lot of reports going around that he was 5'6", but when the club released it the other day, they had him down as 5'10", which is interesting. I thought he was smaller than that personally.
Because when they did the measurement before, he didn't have his boots on.
They had a broken tape. Yeah, but which because by all accounts, everywhere I was reading on him, it was saying 5'6", but the club, it's short. I'm sure they'll have a fair idea what height of the player they sign is. But anyway, regardless of his height, he's a bit bigger than what I thought he was. Talk to me about him, Tess. He's obviously he got into the Champions League team of the season last year. He's 22. Yeah, so
I'd never heard of him before that, though, to be honest, as well.
Yeah. He's
So sorry there, mate. I cut your question off.
Oh no, sorry, but I was going to say, have you seen much of him, or have you kind of looked up much of him since you've since it confirmed, and what's your thoughts on it overall?
Yeah, look, I think it's a really good signing. One, because it's a youngster. We need some young blood in the team. I think we've got some experienced players already. So good to bring some young players in, young talent in. The good thing for me about this was that this player has pedigree. Was in the Chelsea. He's been out on loan. What was that?
He was at Burnley in the Championship with Vincent Kompany.
Yeah, he's been at Coventry as well. I think he's been to about 4 or 5 teams and ended up playing in the Bundesliga and playing Champions League football. And playing well I've watched the YouTube clips. So, he's playing Champions League football. He's got that experience, which is more than most of our players at the moment, which is really, really good. And it's an exciting I think it's going to be an exciting challenge for him, but also an exciting player for us to see. We needed something a little bit different at left back, but again, I think we discussed a few episodes ago about Licodina and also for Alex Moreno. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from this development. But yeah, look, really excited about Ian Matson. I think the club have done some really good business there. And the squad's starting to look refreshed and good. Energy, young strength, pace, all that sort of stuff.
Champions League experience as well, which is something our squad is kind of lacking, to be fair. I think it's a fair, obviously the Ferrari into Europe last year is going to help with that, with the Thursday-Sunday fixture, that like they're going to gain valuable experience as a squad from that, how to recover for the games, they're going to be that year more experience, because some of them lads would never have played in Europe before that was played last year. So, like Solly Watkins and that, they're going to gain huge experience from that one season in the Conference League, and in the Conference League, you find yourself going to the back arse of Bosnia, in December, so you're not going to have that same kind of treacherous trips in the Champions League. So they'll gain huge experience as a group on that, as I said, with the recovery, what you need to do when, how many days, it's going to be valuable for them. But to bring in a couple of lads that have actually played the Champions League, and not just played in the final of a Champions League, he scored in the semi-final of a Champions League, and then ended up playing in the champion, or making the Champions League team in the season. So he ticks a lot of boxes for me. As you said, you touched off Licodina and Moreno, and we probably won't go into too much about it today, but because Illing Jr. as well, that's coming in, can play that left back, and I assume that's where he's coming in for. So something has to give there. And if you were to guess right now, and we won't go too deep into it, who do you think is going to go, Dino or Mourinho? Because I don't think both are going to go.
At least I don't think so. Will stay.
I think so.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah. I honestly think it would be Alex Moreno to leave.
Yeah.
I don't know why. For some reason, he came in and had a shaky first game or something like that, and then after that, the fans kind of loved him after that, didn't they? They took to him. He was marauding down the wings and stuff, and whipping balls in and crosses and stuff like that.
Yeah,
scored a couple of goals. Since the injury, though, he hasn't been the same player, has he? It felt like he was coming back because he was needed to be back. It felt like it was one of those sort of injuries where he needed a bit more time to recuperate and get the injury organised. But I think it was a needs must, and tried to get him back in the squad too early because we needed him, But he hasn't been the same player since, and so I'd imagine that Alex Moreno will be the one to leave. Although, if you say that Elling Jr. is also left back, because I'm not sure too much about him yet, I haven't watched the YouTube clips or anything like that. But
Yeah.
then maybe Luka Dean could be off to Saudi or somewhere like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of Matson's best attributes are probably similar to Mourinho's best attributes, but probably can defend that bit better, you know. It's
Hmm.
definitely just an age profile thing, isn't it? Like getting that age of that squad down, you know, because Moreno's 29, Luka Dean is what 31. So
Yeah, yeah,
to be bringing in two 22-year olds for that position, that's why I kind of think it's going to be Luka Dean's day because he's got that Champions League experience, he's got international experience, you know. So if you've got two young lads who are kind of different to him to come in, and then, but of course, Pau Torres can play there too. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to go. But we're going to see a lot of movement over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think. Um,
yeah.
I'm sure they
I
had to
think it's
navigate.
it's good though.
Yeah.
It's when have we ever been able to talk about having that problem?
Oh,
You
100%.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like we haven't had that problem for a long, long time, and so it's really good that we can actually have that conversation to say, "Oh, I don't know, like we've got these two youngsters coming in, and Luca Dean's got a bit of a experience, and I
Yeah,
think Luca Dean
exactly that.
deserves to. I think Luca Dean deserves to play Champions League football for us if he does stay, um,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
I
I felt
agree.
like he's done a really good job for Villa. You know, he hasn't always been the best defender, hasn't always been best at attacking, but he's been a solid player for us. I think since Unai's been in it, at least anyway, the way that he's been playing. So I think he deserves an opportunity to play Champions League football with us. Don't know what the transfer market will hold for him though, but he's a likable character and he's kind of embraced the supporters and the club
Yeah.
since he's been there. So all credit to Luca Dean. I really like him. I think he's a good footballer, and I think he deserves another season with us to at least have a go at the Champions League.
Yeah. No, no, I agree. And you need a couple of experienced players in that squad too. You can't bring the whole age down and you know, like you're at the moment you're probably only looking at Matson, Torres, Luka Dean, and that's probably it. That would have Champions League experience, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Kamara, but he's obviously out at the moment. There's not too many more like that would have played Champions League football, you know. At the
yeah.
moment, I'm sure they'll sign a
Yeah,
couple
no, you're
more.
right. Yeah, no, uh,
So
and not even Emi Martinez has played Champions League
no,
football, has he?
no, he has not. He's won World Cups, all right, so we'll give him that. But he
Yeah,
hasn't.
I think
He hasn't. No, he hasn't played in the Champions League. I don't think,
I don't think he's
unless he did.
conceded a goal so far. By the way, sorry to jump on the conversation, but
Yeah.
Emi
Oh,
Martinez, I don't think he's conceded a goal at this Copa America.
he's a machine, man. He's unbelievable.
Oh, it's
He's
unbelievable.
unreal. Um, yeah, his clean sheet record for Argentina is absolutely insane. It is. It's he's so good. Sometimes I just can't believe he's our keeper. You know, like
Oh, and I'm so
another
glad he
gem
wants to
we've
stay
stuck.
with us to play Champions League.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. He's the one player you wouldn't want to lose. Like I think all the rest of them you just yeah, I think the rest of them are replaceable to some level, but I think the two
Mm.
hardest for us to replace from a financial point of view would be Martinez and Ollie Watkins. I think it would cost a lot of money for us to even go anywhere near replacing Ollie Watkins. You know, so with all these transfers, like there's a chance we could look very different to the going into the new season test, lining up a bit different and a couple of the old faces, obviously. But have you had a chance to look at the fixture list?
Yeah, I've had a little brief look, to be honest with you. I've got them on my screen actually because I knew you were going to ask me this question. So fixtures look really good. I think the first six fixtures that we have look really, really interesting for us. It could start us off on a with a really good season and what might be a difficult going into sort of October November period. So I think we
Yeah.
have West Ham first. So West Ham, I don't know, they're probably going to have that new manager bounce because they've also got a new manager, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Lopetegui?
Yeah, Julian Lopetegui's left taking over there. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a good coach, and so West Ham will have that new manager bounce. But if I'm to look at West Ham squad and look at our squad, I'd fancy us going into that game against West Ham in the first game of the season. Um, It's going to be away from home though, so hopefully that will kick off our away form, and hopefully we can have some good away fixtures for next season. Then we've obviously got Arsenal after that, and that's the first home game. So that will be really, really interesting. I'm pretty sure like all the fans will be fired up for that one. So that's going to be a really, really good one. And what we proved last season is that we are capable of beating Arsenal, and I think we did it twice. Did we? It was 6 points. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. We beat them twice last season, so I don't think it's a fixture we should be scared of. I think it's a fixture we should embrace. We all know what Arsenal are all about. They're a very good team, very good squad, half decent coach. I only say that because I just kind of Arteta just frustrates me bouncing around the sidelines. He winds me up, and I shouldn't let it get to me, but every time I see him doing it, it just winds me up. He's just, yeah. And then after the first Villa game where we beat them, all of a sudden it was all about the wind and all these sorts of excuses. And yeah, the second time I think he had to hold his hands up and say that we worked harder than they did and we were a better team than they were on the day. So then of course we've got Leicester. Leicester have just been promoted back to the Premier League. So is that Jamie Vardy still there? Is Jamie Vardy still there?
Jamie Vardy's still there, yeah. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
He's had such a good career, scoring goals. Did he do good in the Championship? Was he scoring goals in the Championship as well?
I don't know what his total was in the end, but from by all accounts, he had a good old season again. But I'm sure they'll keep him on. His experience in the Premier League will be invaluable.
Yeah. And yeah, he's a good player to have, isn't he? Around. So yeah, Leicester. Again, I don't know how they play because they've just come up from the Championship. But what you will know is that they want to come up and they want to fight and they want to stay in the Premier League. They don't want to go back down again. So that'll be at their stadium away. Could be a slippery fixture, I think. But if I'm honest, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, it should be 3 points really. Then
they've just changed managers too. Obviously, they've lost their manager to Chelsea.
Yeah,
and the ex-Nottingham Forest manager Steve Cooper is their manager now.
Oh, Steve Cooper there now. See, I'm missing out on all this stuff.
He got announced last week as their new head coach.
Yeah, interesting.
Good coach, I think. It's a good move from them. I mean, it's a completely different style to what the players had been playing under Maresca, but yeah, I think, and Steve Cooper will come in with a bit to prove after getting the shot from Forest as well. He's done a good job keeping them up and under difficult circumstances. Sure, their owner just kept lumbering with new players he probably didn't want.
Yeah, that's oh my gosh, everything's happening so fast. Like, honestly, I blink and then all this news has happened, and I'm like, when did that happen? When did this happen? So yeah, Leicester. Yeah, I'm looking at that game. Could be slippery, but away. I hope our away form's going to be better this season. And then Everton, Villa Park, be interesting. Will Dobbins play? Will Tim Rogmanen play? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? That would be something to look forward to. Everton, Sean Dyche, I think he's going to kind of have a kind of team. You know what Sean Dyche does with his teams? They're always difficult to play most of the time. He makes it hard. He uses the strengths of each of the players that he's got. So that will also be, a slightly difficult game. But I'd imagine, I'm so biased. I'm seeing 3 points here as well. So I think, do you know what happened? The other day somebody asked me, and I think I said I think we're going to get about 16 points from our first 6 games or something like that. That's what I said. But I don't know. What are you thinking about the fixtures?
I was looking at it, and I wasn't being negative or whatever, but obviously we're going to have a lot of new players and stuff. And I think going away to the West Ham, difficult day, I thought, opening day, I thought maybe we could take a point from that. I think Arsenal will come hell bent on beating us, to be honest. We pretty much ended their Premier League campaign last year. So, look, I was kind of under the impression that we'd get a point from the West Ham game. We'd probably lose the Arsenal game, but then we'd go on a 4-win streak to start our season. That was my kind of feeling. I thought we'd get 13 points from that opening. That was the kind of sense I got from it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I hope we beat Arsenal, obviously, but I think if you start with 2 points home and away to West Ham and Arsenal, it's a good start to a season,
Yeah, I think so. I think
Everton usually come and give us 3 points at Villa Park to get our season going. So
yeah, I'm just. It just depends on. Do you know what's interesting is how we will perform in our pre-season. That will be interesting where all the players are together and they've got that pre-season all together to see how they're playing. It'd be nice to see a kind of sample, a little snippet of what to expect coming into the next season. With those fixtures,
we got a touch lucky as well. because with Diaby and Torres not making the Euro squad, we're going to have them from the start.
Yeah.
McGinn has now been knocked out early, so he's going to be back in time probably after his break. So there's only really Ali and Kanza, and they've not really played much football anyway. So
Well, I was just thinking, the players will probably get a break after the tournament. I mean, Ollie's not really getting minutes for England, which is I'm not going to discuss. And I'm not going to do it. So I don't know who we've got as a backup striker. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, like Ollie's away, John Duran's away. I mean, we're lucky because we've got Diaby, Torres. They didn't get selected and they'll be back. Leon Bailey also. I think I saw on social media the other day that he looks like he's training hard. Like he looks like I don't know if it's just for the 2-minute Instagram snippet, but he was sweating and doing some training. Yeah. Oh my gosh! And just as we speak, sorry to break this news, Villa have just literally told us that Douglas Luiz is gone. Sorry,
it's announced.
That's just announced. Sorry,
I was expecting it to go through today on the 30th. All right, for sure.
Yeah, and the time now is 10:31 in Brisbane, and that's the announcement there. I've just seen it. He's joined Juventus.
You okay, Tess?
I mean, I'm feeling emotional. I'm feeling emotional. Over 150 appearances for the club.
I think he's a record Premier League appearance in the squad at the moment, isn't he? Of the players in the squad at the moment, I think he's played the most Premier League games. I think he's even played more in the Premier League than McGinn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because McGinn had that long period out injured. Remember when he broke his ankle against Southampton?
Emi Martinez?
A few years ago.
I mean,
Dougie Luiz is there the year before Martinez, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, wow. Yeah, so
I think I read there recently he's out of this current squad, he's played the most Premier League games for us. Yeah.
Look, I'm gutted because I really liked Douglas Luiz for Villa. Thought he was a really good player for us. I felt he was unfortunate at times, as I've said before, just being played out of position where it's not his best position. I think what we saw earlier on in the last season was when he was playing in his position, he was really effective in the attacking third, creating goals, scoring goals, creating assists.
Yeah.
When we didn't have Kamara, his role changed a bit, and we didn't see. I don't think we saw the best of what he can do. Look, I wish him the best going to Juventus, but as you said, time moves. We've got to move with our players. We've got to move with our manager and go with what the manager thinks is the right decisions to do. It sounds like he's going to Juventus and we're getting 2 players in return as part of the deal. I don't know if they're announcing it as separate deals, but as part of the deal.
I think it is, yeah.
We're getting Inning Jr. and we're going to get Baranchea. I think is it. Don't quote me on the name pronunciation.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it as well. I think myself and Brian butchered it a couple of times last week as well.
I'm going to learn it because I think it's important to learn their names properly. So, look, good luck to Dougie Luiz. Thank you for your service at Villa and wish you the best for the future. I think that's the best way to go. I've got no hard feelings at all. I was delighted that he stayed when Arsenal were interested.
He gave me a lot of pleasure. Like some of the memories, like that outside the boot pass against Sheffield United last season, just a joy to watch. And
if his name wasn't Douglas Luiz,
it's always sad when you see kind of regulars leaving and stuff, but it's going to start happening now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, so question to you: who comes in and does that kind of role that he did? Who have we got that can do that role that he was doing?
Tielemans maybe drop back a bit more.
Yeah,
because maybe we'll buy someone now that the PSR is out the way. Who knows who they'll announce on the 1st of January tomorrow? I expect I expect a big signing in midfield, to be honest.
Yeah, someone who's got
Ross Barkley's obviously coming.
Yeah,
but I think we'll have a bigger name than that, to be honest.
I wonder who that's going to be. Be really interesting to find out.
Yeah, of course, Jacob Ramsey could play there.
Oh yeah.
That could also be something that Emery's eyeing up now that Morgan Rogers has done so well, and that maybe he sees Jacob Ramsey play that role.
you reckon Buendia
well
could play
capable
there?
in that role. He can carry a ball.
Do you reckon Buendia could play further back a little bit, more in midfield, or
Yeah, I think he can, but I don't think he will.
yeah,
You don't know as he got the discipline that Emery would expect, you know.
yeah, true. Is
But he's definitely got the tool set.
yeah. Oh, well, that was breaking news for everyone. So while we were
There you
recording live
go.
on the
You heard,
podcast, Doug, you
you
heard
heard
it
it here
first.
first. Nobody knew Douglas Luiz was in talks to leave Villa till they listened to this podcast tonight.
There was no chance he was going to be leaving this club during this podcast. But yeah, all things happen. So yeah, good luck to him. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, look, I think the real transfer window is going to start now. We're going to really see what Emery wants to do with the squad from here on in. I think a lot of this was just financial maneuvers to make sure the club stayed healthy with PSR. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more moved out now, but I don't think it will be more based on PSR. I think it'll be more based on whoever wants to move out, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't think it because Douglas Luiz obviously the hand was obviously forced a little bit. But I think we'll see a couple of more moved out now.
I think it's an exciting time though. At the same time, you know, it's a period of time where it looks like for us we're going through a transition, and there will be players who are on the fringe who won't be there anymore, and we'll have other players who are coming in who have been there for a long time. And I'd imagine, to be honest, I don't want to say this in a disrespectful way, but some of the players that we've currently got who have been on the injury list might be coming up as the backup players based on what we did last season. And I don't think that's unfair in any way. I think it's a good opportunity for those players who have been out of the picture during the last season to fight and prove themselves and compete for a place, which will only be good for our squad.
Yeah, I mean, you need competition. And you need to be able to put stronger squads in the cups and stuff. You know, that's got to be considered a progression for the club as well, because we just simply haven't been good enough in the cups.
No, and
We
that's
done
what we
well in
need.
I mean, like the domestic cup competitions, like, you know, we haven't been good enough, and I know they couldn't be the priority last season, but we were terrible. Like ever since Emery's come in, we've been terrible in the League Cup. You know, for a cup specialist manager, I think that's somewhere he needs to improve the team personally.
I think so
And
as well.
that's only going to come with strength.
I think so as well. I think that we do need to improve in the cup. The only thing that I would say is that when he came in, he had a remit of things that he needed to do. And if I'm being honest, based on how our first Premier League season went since he arrived, I would have taken not being any of those cups to finish where we finished in the league that season. No,
oh yeah, 100%.
no question. The second season, though, I did think that we would do a little bit better in the cup. But at the same time, I looked at the squad and I said we didn't really have a big squad of players to kind of rotate that were really good enough to compete in each of the cup games. And I think his focus was, we want to do well in the Premier League, but we need to get into the top four again, you know, top five, or we need to get into top four. We want to play Champions League. And if it means that I have to sacrifice these cups to get a good league position and get into the Champions League, we'll take it. But I think going into this third season?
Third season,
yeah.
Second full season.
Second full season. But going into this second full season, we'll call it, I think that we need to demonstrate that we can play in domestic cups, because I think the supporters still want to be in that kind of FA Cup final, or even if it's the other cup, Carabao Cup. We want to be fighting for a trophy this season, and I think now is the perfect time for us to look at getting one trophy in the door. You know, trophies are never guaranteed, but I think we need to really focus and work hard to try and get one in.
Definitely, because I remember like Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola, and obviously they have bigger squads with Chelsea and Man City, but I remember them both talking about how important winning that first trophy was for them, and it was both of them won the League Cup. That was both their first wins in England, And they both, I remember Mourinho particularly saying it's a mentality setter. Like you kind of you go out and you win that League Cup in final in February. You're setting a standard. This is what I expect as a club. I want to win trophies. I want, and Emery obviously doesn't have the squad, and you see how hard it was to compete on two fronts towards the end of the season when we were getting injuries and stuff. If we had a FA Cup semi-final to deal with on top of that, it just wouldn't have been feasible. I know, but I think when you see him bringing in all these players, like, because at the moment, like, there's like 5 confirmed. I'd like to think that he has one eye in cup runs, building that squad that is capable of going, because we should have beaten Everton in that League Cup. Like we were awful that night, knocked out by Stevenage the year before in the FA Cup. I get it. Like I get that there was other priorities, but our second 11 should be beating Stevenage. Like, look,
Yeah,
anyone
yeah.
can win a football game in a one-off, but there's no excuse for that at home. And that's got something that we've got to look at going forward, because I, as a fan, know it's important to finish in the top 4.
Mm.
It doesn't give me massive pleasure. Like, I want to see us win something.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Yeah.
club need to be in the Champions League, and it's going to be a huge thing for me to see us in the Champions League, because I genuinely never thought I didn't think I'd see it as a fan,
Same.
in my lifetime. So it's huge. But like, you never know with Emery, but we're not going to. It's very unlikely we're going to win the Champions League. You know what I mean? But we can win an FA Cup. We can win a League Cup. We can do that. Like, we're the only team this season to have beaten Arsenal twice. We're the only team to have beaten both Arsenal and Man City this season. We were the last team to beat Arsenal in the league. We were the last team to beat Man City in the league. So it's like we have these performances in us, so we need to transfer that into the cups as well.
Yeah,
I know it's not
100%.
as easy because other teams are trying to win cups as well, but
He's a cup
I know
specialist
this
though,
year is
and he
going to be,
knows how to win cups. And I guess
yeah,
he's got to learn how to win one of the cups in the prem from the in England. I suppose is the words I'm looking for, because we're a club that, if we get, just imagine, like, he can do no wrong if we can just make a really good cup run, and even if we got to a final or semi-final and we gave it a good go, the supporters would be loving that. I would be loving it. I just want to have a good run in there and show some really good performances and beat the teams that you're expected to beat is one of the things, And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way to other clubs, but on paper you look at these two teams and you say, "Oh, Villa should be beating Stevenage. Let's do that." But let's not do it where it looks uncomfortable and you're scraping a 1-0 win. We need to go into these games and dominate and find a way to play in these cup games. So I'm looking forward to that, hopefully this season, where we will get a trophy.
have a good run at it.
Have a good run at it, but
Definitely.
get a trophy. Get a trophy.
Yeah, a trophy.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we were kind of unlucky. Like, we probably should have won that conference. We got lucky at the end of the season. We just didn't have the manpower in the end, and the players had given all they had. And let's not fool ourselves. The Champions League was the priority for various reasons: the stature of the club, the attraction of players, PSR. We needed to be in that Champions League. But I was gutted when we lost that semi-final. To be honest, I was broken from it.
It was the way that we lost in the 2 games.
Yeah, we were well beaten. Like.
Yeah. It was just, I didn't understand. Actually, that was the first time this season that I didn't understand what we were doing. Because you remember, like, at the beginning of the season, we had those shaky parts where, we would be passing out from the back, and that was new to all of us at Villa, because we just never kept the ball ever. Whenever you have a header, it's going to one of the opposition team players or something like that. When we started playing from the back, that was kind of new to me. And then as the season went on, it became normal to see that we're dominating possession and the way that we're counter-attacking and all these sorts of things. And then to watch that semi-final, I didn't understand for the first time in the season how we were playing and what we were trying to do in those games. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, 100% it does. Yeah, and from a tactical point of view, I thought Olympiacos were brilliant. Like, we need to give them credit too. Like, they completely nullified everything we did playing out from the back. Look, we have to address it as well. Like that, there's no way they score 4 of those goals if Emi Martinez is in goal in the first leg. It's reality. They don't. He gets his hand to 1 or 2 of them at least. And Dougie Luiz misses that penalty at the end, and it was just, I knew at the end of that first leg there was no real way back, because it just wasn't going to happen. Even that penalty, and it's not on Douglas Luiz, but he'd been scoring penalties easily in the build up to that. So when he missed that last minute penalty to make it 4-3, I just knew it. And then they came out. Then they came out and played with no fear in the second leg. Olympiacos, I think it was the 11th minute, and then that was it. It was gone. We needed to score that early goal. Well, I can't have any complaints. Olympiacos were better. To be fair, Lille were probably better over the two leagues as well, over the two games as well. So
Yeah.
no complaints from me, but I was gutted.
It was a good experience for us, though, and it was a good experience for the players that we had
100%.
on there. So I think that was really, really important. Yeah, shame. Let's
The
hope
next
for
step,
this season, do something this
but
season.
he's built us like we were fighting relegation. Got us into the Europa League or the Conference League. Now he's got us into the Champions League. The next stage is surely get those cup runs and become competitive forefront.
Yeah,
I mean, the club obviously will be focused on, because I think it's important for a club to try and get into the Champions League for a second year, and that's where you really start to notice the shift.
yeah.
But it's not easy.
Mm.
So hopefully we can have a little run in the cups and do well in the league, and yeah.
I'd love to.
And of
Even if
course,
it's League
we're
Cup, I'd
talking
love to
about,
have one.
absolutely. And we were talking about the fixtures there earlier, and I was saying to mates of mine there, he's a big United fan, and we're playing United away on the last day of the season, and I said it's great draw for United because we'll be resting a few lads because we'll have the Champions League final the week after, so good time to play us.
And they're not in it, are they? The United, but that's okay because Bruno Fernandes will get a penalty from us somehow this season.
Yes, we've had a chat and a bit of a catch up, and we've worked through everything and touched off a few of the transfers and stuff. Obviously, there's not a wild amount going on, but it's starting to pick up at the moment, and we're going to have a few episodes like this where we just check in um and see how our opinions on the various things that are going on. But I think from here on in now, you're going to see a lot more content come in because transfers are going to start kicking off and all around the league. Preseason games are starting from the 18th of July, so that's not too far away either.
Yeah.
And then, of course, August will be here before we know it. So, any final thoughts before we jump off?
Yeah, look, really looking forward. There's the transfer window is going to be really, really, really interesting. And so far, it's been good. We've done business quite early, which is nice to see. It means that these players will come in if they're away on tournaments when they come back, or they'll get a break and then they'll join in during the preseason. We've got a few early preseason matches that are going to be taking place, but they won't be ready for those. But it'll be interesting to start seeing all these players gelling and meeting all the new teammates. And so we'll have lots of things to talk about, especially if we are going to do some more business. It looks to me like we will probably do more business this season if we can, to try and strengthen the team. I'm also looking forward to seeing some of our previous injury players coming back as well, Spud, because there's been a miss for Kamara and Tyrone Mings and for Emi Buendia. I've kind of missed seeing them playing on the park, and they were huge contributors to the squad when Unai came in. They had to change the way they were playing and all these sorts of things. So, yeah, sorry. As I was saying, lots of content to come up, lots of things to talk about, transfers, players coming back, fixtures. Excited. Also, we did mention that we're going to talk about some of our Australian players that have played for Villa before. So when Rhino comes back, we can definitely do that as well. That'll be really good.
Yeah, so exactly that. Yeah, so we've a good episode coming out with the three of us together, where we discuss so some of the Australian players that have done the famous claret and blue, haven't we, Tess?
Yeah.
So keep your eye out for that one, lads, and please like and subscribe. That's what's going to help us get through. Hit the likes, hit the follows, hit the subscribes. We can't emphasize enough how much it doesn't cost you anything, but we can't emphasize enough how much it actually helps the pod and helps get out there. And Tess, if they wanted to find you, where can they find yourself?
They can find me at Cuban_Knights on the screen there, just in the bottom lower third there. And send me a message, send me private messages. Also send us some questions, because I'm really keen to see some questions. And normally, if you follow me, I'll normally follow you back.
Yeah, 100%. And you can find me at AVFC Spud, capital A, capital S. Tess, do you want to just give us a quick rundown of our own socials for the pod, please.
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, X, and we're on Facebook. We've got the Facebook page, which Spud has nicely set up. So that is the Villa Pride Down Under Facebook page. We're also on Instagram and X, and you can find us at Villa Pride Down Under as the handle there for X and Instagram.
Of course, yeah. And the podcast obviously can be found on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. So whether you prefer to watch or listen. But if you have all the platforms, even if you don't listen to Spotify, but you have it, just jump on, hit the follow first. Even if you prefer to watch it on YouTube, it all helps. And as Tess says, get in touch. Tell us content you'd like to see on too, because we're very open and interactive to it. So Tess, anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, that's it really. Looking forward to Rhino coming back to have a conversation with us, and looking forward to getting some more content out for next week.
Yeah, and I'm glad we could shock you with this shocking news that Douglas Luiz has left Villa. Breaking news on this podcast here. Nobody knew that was coming, so exclusive for the Pride Down Under podcast.
I was paying attention to you, but it just flashed up on my phone, by the way. I was.
I won't talk too much about it now, but we have some guests coming on over the coming weeks as well, various stuff. So keep your eye out for that. So obviously this is a kind of a in between of the season, so the content will still be on every week, but again it's going to be a lot of transfer talk and stuff. But as the next couple of weeks develop, the content will change with it. So if you're really enjoying it, hit the 5-star reviews for us on Spotify. Write us a little review on Apple, because it all contributes to the overall. So that's it for us now for another week, and we look forward to chatting to you again next week. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa, mate.